To crash outs, few can compare to the one and only Tay-K, who not only crashed the GOAT, he did the race. Just recently, the 24-year-old was sentenced to forever, well, not literally, but by the time he's eligible for parole, he'll either be dead or close to it, and in this video, we're going to break down Tay-K's infamous.
Man, this case been going on for so long, I forgot about Tay-K. Golly, boy.
His case, along with the series of unfortunate events that left a 16-year-old in a cell responsible for 2 murders. Kevin Beverly, who went by the name KD, was a Compton Crip, while Jolena McIntyre, who went by the name Nina, was a Long Beach Crip. The two would meet in high school in the early 90s, and in the year 2000 would have a baby named Tamor McIntyre, who would later be known as Tay-K. His father would wind up in prison, while his mother was in and out of jail struggling with addiction. Tay-K would grow up in and out of foster care, where he'd suffer abuse along with his siblings. He'd be returned to his mother, only to be taken away again as she went back to jail. This cycle would continue as Tay-K moved from Long Beach, California to Las Vegas, Nevada. His mother would be arrested again, finding herself in a new jail, while Tay-K in a new.
Damn, he was gang as shit there, man. That shit crazy. That boy had a heart since birth. Both parents crooked.
Home. It wasn't until his father's release from prison that his father would move the family down to Arlington, Texas. Reunited with
what's going down in Arlington, low key.
His father and relocated to a more suburban environment, you'd think Tay-K would finally have a chance to thrive now that his family was back together. But by now, Tay-K was claiming his mother's set, Baby Insane Crip. Tay-K wasn't old enough to have been put onto the set in Long Beach, meaning he wasn't officially jumped in, but who could tell Tay-K he wasn't official? He came from a Crip family, with both parents still actively banging. In Texas, Tay-K would take up an interest in music before finding himself wanting to become a rapper. Tay-K would become a member of Daytona Boys, a rap group with his 2 friends, Eric Johnson, who went by the name Santana Sage, and Jalen Bell, who went by the name Pimpies. Building up a local fan base, things took a turn for the Daytona Boys in 2016. 20-year-old Sarah was the designated driver for her friends on New Year's Eve. She attended the University of North Texas and was enrolled in the radio, television, and film program. Pulling up to a stoplight, another vehicle pulled up alongside hers. The other vehicle contained multiple males who began making derogatory comments to Sarah and the other females in her vehicle. A male in Sarah's car defended the females, and that's when gunshots rang out. Sarah was shot in the head, lost control of the vehicle,
God damn, she got shot in the head,
and hit another car before crashing into a pole.
This is Wix Studio, the platform for agencies and enterprises, built to meet any brief.
Tay-K, who was only 15 years old at the time, was later identified as being in the suspect vehicle. This would be the first murder he'd be connected to, but he'd never face charges. Instead, a 21-year-old Marine named Eric Johnson was taken into custody at his base and later arrested for killing Sarah.
This was senseless and tragic.
There are so many things Clay and Gloria, much like
they snatched him out of Marines. Yeah, you gotta go, buddy.
could talk about right now.
Couldn't go to sleep. All I could think about was her and this just horrible thing that happened to her. She did not deserve this.
But they say Sarah would want them to smile. Hers was infectious.
She's never met a stranger. She was always nice to people. She would talk with them.
Just like her grandpa Bloss.
And no matter what, think of what they had, not what they lost.
We're all going to miss her. And some people don't get to have their kids 20 years, so we have to be We have to be blessed with what we've had with her, time spent.
Jurors found Eric Johnson guilty of shooting Sarah Muschleckner on New Year's Day back in 2016. The Denton County District Attorney confirmed on Twitter that Johnson will be eligible for parole based on the sentence after serving 22 years of the 44 I mentioned. The jury could have sent him to prison for life.
6 months later, Tay-K would make a
22 years. That is like
decision that would forever alter his life. 17-year-old Zachary Bello and 21-year-old Ethan Walker were roommates in Mansfield, Texas. Zach's girlfriend believed the two were selling drugs and decided to plan a robbery on her own boyfriend. Word would get to 16-year-old Tay-K, who then recruited a team to get the job done. 3 girls went to the house, all aware of what was about to happen. As they spent time with the 2 roommates, they unlocked the doors to the house and the 4 robbers let themselves in. Over the next few minutes, Zach would be hit in the head with brass knuckles and shot in the shoulder, while Ethan was shot in the chest and left on the ground, gasping for air.
Damn, these boys ain't playing. They're shooting first, asking questions later.
Ethan would later die, and Zach knew he was set up by the girls because when the robbers walked in, the girls just got up and walked out. Not even
for sure back though, they didn't care. They didn't even try to act like they ain't had nothing to do with it. They just walked out. Yeah.
And acting scared or surprised. But nobody planned for a double shooting or for Ethan to die. Police would quickly identify everyone involved, with Tay-K being arrested at only 16 for participating in the home invasion robbery turned murder. Released on house arrest, Tay-K would cut off his ankle monitor and go on the run. A month later, 23-year-old Mark Saldivar was shot and killed in a Chick-fil-A parking lot.
New on the night beat, one man found dead in the middle of a parking lot of a North Side fast food restaurant following a shooting. As Pilar Arias reports tonight, police say the car the victim was riding in may also be the same vehicle the suspects took off in.
The parking lot of a Chick-fil-A turned crime scene. The restaurant closed for
Not the Chick-fil-A.
business like it usually is on Sundays. But that didn't stop witnesses and spectators from gathering to figure out what happened at the lot just across from North Star Mall early this evening.
So this is a shopping center. There were quite a few people out here, and the car drove through like everybody else, and as soon as they heard the noise, they all started looking.
Police now trying to find out how this all happened. Their sights set on a black 4-door car. They say the victim was riding in the car along with several other people police are now looking for. They had pulled in here just before 5:30. As far as investigators know at this point, the man was shot outside the vehicle, but they don't know what made him want to get out.
Investigators would learn Tay-K and others picked up the photographer for a photo shoot at a local mall. While in the vehicle, Tay-K and one of the other suspects pulled out guns, pistol whipped Mark, and took his backpack containing his equipment. Mark was forced out of the car, tried to get back in, and desperately jumped on the hood. That's when Tay-K leaned out of the window and shot him dead. 2 months later, on June 30th, 2017, Tay-K would drop his infamous song The Race, and that same day, he'd be captured by U.S. Marshals in New Jersey. Tay-K was now viral.
Damn, I didn't know he got caught the same day though, but that song was so viral so fast.
After dropping a song describing killing and being on the run, and going as far as showing his own wanted poster. The song would reach number 44 on the Hot 100 Billboard chart and currently sits at 251 million views on YouTube. But Tay-K would never get to perform his hit song or experience anything from it. He'd only hear about it through jail calls and jail visits. Tay-K would eventually be found guilty for his role in the home invasion murder of Ethan Walker. While he wasn't the shooter, the fact that he recruited the shooter would leave him with a 55-year prison sentence. Fast forward to 2025, Tay-K would be
he definitely got sliced.
Sentenced to an additional 80 years in prison for shooting and killing Mark.
Your punishment is to be assessed at 80 years in the prison. I don't know where your mom is, don't know where your father is. I know that you had a rough childhood. And I do know that these offenses occurred when you were very young. And I do realize that while this is a lot of time, and I tell people all the time, anytime that you do in custody is a lot of time. But by that same token, you're still alive. And what the state has said is true. You're still alive. You can still better yourself. If you end up in prison for the rest of your life, you're still alive. You still can improve yourself. Your family can still visit you. But the complainant in this case is deceased.
24-year-old Tay-K has been sentenced to a total of
80 years. It's over with. You might as well get comfortable. That's insane.
135 years in Texas
135, take that back.
State Prison. His sentencing will be run concurrent, meaning his 55-year sentence has pretty much been overruled by his 80-year sentence. Under Texas law, he'll be eligible for parole in his 60s. Things have already been rough for him, judging by the scar on the side of his neck that appears to be a slash from a razor. While his crimes can't be minimized, his life must be analyzed. Tay-K was born to two gangbanging parents, raised in and out of foster care, and became a product of his parental influence. At only 16, far from mentally developed, he made choices that have essentially ended his ability to experience a life in freedom. He's been deemed a threat to society, and now knowing his childhood, it can be determined he really never had a chance to live peacefully in society. One can only hope he finds peace in prison, learns from his mistakes, asks forgiveness from his victims' families, and lives long enough to make parole. This is the reality of being a crash out, and he is a living example of what any teen could be if you're following down a similar path. Now, as sad as Tay-K's case is, it's even sadder what happened to Sarah, Zach, Ethan, Mark, you know what I mean? And when you hear what happened to them, you really lose any sympathy for him. This was a 16-year-old who was doomed from the start, that grew up to two gangbanging parents that didn't do shit for him, didn't provide anything for him. And then, they tried to get their shit together. They tried to, testify on his behalf, and it's done nothing for him. He was failed by his parents, 100%. And then he also failed himself. And he's only 24 years old, and he has all this time. 55 years in one case, 80 years in another case. He's not even 25. I'll be honest. Be honest with you, I'd be surprised if he doesn't, not a lot of people can sit there and do all that time and live a life knowing that there's not much to look forward to. Prison is a repetitive place where the same thing happens every single day. You're only gonna want to do so many seasons of that shit before you just give up on everything. There's no happiness. There's no woman by your side with a marriage. There's no, you could do the whole writing letters and shit, but that ain't life. We aren't meant to be in prison. He makes it to his parole date, then what? He's 60-something years old. The only thing that Tay-K can do for people is be an example of what not to be and be an example of what's to come if you're living like him.
That boy fried, man. 135 years is insane. 24 years old, boy. Got a long time to think about that shit, boy. It's your boy Moondo, man. I had to do a reaction video. I had to catch up on that boy Tay-K, man. He'd have been a big superstar. Crash time went the other way, man. Fucked up. To the next video, man.